Skeletations, my new ghoul friends. I'm Niomi Dylan Sass, resident podcaster here at UIC Radio, and I'm taking you along with me to visit something grave today. This is where hauntings feel like hellos. Welcome to season 3 of a podcast for everything in the horror genre, from movies to mythologies and mysteries. This is Summer in the Crypt. Along with us on this week's frightful journey, the head mistress of the crypt is taking a solo trip to unleash the evil dead upon you all. With the new release of Evil Dead Burn, I had to dive into the origins of this franchise to really give it my honest review. I'll give you a rundown on everything that transpired in the 1981 Sam Raimi hit that put him on the map, plus a review of the 2026 newest installment. There will be a trigger warning at the beginning of each of my episodes, just in case today's dark discussion isn't your preferred potion. I touch on the topics of domestic violence, sexual assaults, and every kind of death imaginable at the hands of the Deadites. Cool, I get it if you can't listen to that right now. Just leave us a like on your way out and be sure to tune in next week for a different dark discussion. After this quick break, I'll be back to do some grave digging into what the hell is going on in the Evil Dead universe, plus a breakdown at the end of movie credits. Ghouls, beware, because there is some heavy spoilers for the newest movie, and make sure to be on the lookout. There might be a spirit lingering around this studio this episode. I'll be rolling in my grave with excitement while you listen to this quick message from Beyond. In the summer, this spell always works. This is She's Summoning. Everybody, welcome to the studio. Me. So something funny that happened today, which is kind of like a little gender affirming. So I work as a lifeguard at like a private school, and in the private school, I used to work at a pool a lot, and I would like do a full beat, a whole mug, like every day. I would look like Denise Richards coming straight out of the pool, and it was just a lot to like maintain, especially like in the water. The face would still be there when I got out of the water hours later, but I didn't want to have to like deal with that this go around. So like when I got hired here, I was like, yeah, y'all should just call me Neo, yeah, and yeah, sure, any pronouns is fine, sure, whatever. So I've been going in there like not shaving or nothing, which is kind of cool to give my face like that break away from a razor 7 times, maybe even 9 times a week. But this morning there was some kid, he was totally trying to bully me. He did bully me. But it was like the before care I was doing. We were just chilling. I was like coloring my picture and stuff, and he was like, "What is that? That's creepy." I was drawing a squishmallow, but it was not turning out. And I was like, "Whatever, you're creepy." And he was like, "What are you, a boy or a girl? Because you look like a girl." And I had like a beard on, and I was like, "I got a beard. What do you think?" He's like, "I don't know. Girls have beards." And I was like, "True. My mom low-key got a beard." And then he started laughing. But yeah, that was like also, that's what the like fun thing and stupid thing about working with kids. In the same sentence, they can make you feel great and like insult you at the same time. I was like, thank you for, seeing the femininity inside of me, but also, F you, you little Another thing that kind of was fun that happened this last week is I went to the beach. The beach is always fun. I went with somebody. You guys might hear from them later. Who knows? But when we went, the wind was winding. And so when we went on the water, like it was totally fine going in the one direction because we were going like in direction of the wind. So it kind of was just like taking us off. But I only had one life vest, and I knew we were both supposed to have a life vest. But lifeguards came like on a boat and like spat up next to us. I literally thought they were gonna hit us like off of the dang paddleboard. But they were like, "Hey, do both of you guys have a life vest?" I was like, no. Were we supposed to both have one?" They're like, "Yeah." And so we're like, "Oh, okay, we'll go get one right now." They're like, "Yeah, go do that." So as we're going back to turn around, it took us like maybe 10 minutes to get to where we were probably before the lifeguards like came up to us. I would say maybe 15 minutes, but I would say it took like 40 minutes to get back to the like loading dock because the wind was so much. The wind was like so extravagant. The wind was just pushing me back and back and back. And every time there was a big boat, the big boat would make a wave, and then the wave would keep pushing me back and back and back. It was like far too much. But it was still fun. I got a workout. I felt it in my back this morning. My back is ripped now because I really need to get a double paddle because I only have the one for like standing up, so it is adjustable to your height, and that one wasn't the T trying to paddle two people's bodies weight. And then there's another two people like on the ocean, not the ocean, on the lake, and they were just like low key paddleboarding with ease, and I was like, oh, must be nice, must be nice. Anyways, we have a lot to talk about today. Are you guys ready to get into the next segment? This is Dark Discussions. So, as you all know, Evil Dead Burn just came out, and it is back in the hands of, not in the hands, but Sam Raimi's hands are in the midst of this movie. So I was very interested to see how he brought it back to the roots, which is why I had to go watch the original Evil Dead, which is the one that he directed. He directed the first two. But I never seen the first one. I saw the first one like when I was young, probably when I was not supposed to. So the story never stuck in my head. So I wanted to rewatch it. It was crazy. Y'all know IMDb helps us out a lot here. So this is the synopsis on Evil Dead 1981. It is about 5 Michigan State University students venture into the hills to spend a weekend in an isolated cabin. There, they find the Book of the Dead, a Babylonian and Sumerian text unrelated to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, otherwise known as the Mortuorum Demento. While searching the basement of the cabin, the students find and play a tape recording of the demonic incantations from the book, unwittingly resurrecting slumbering demons that thirst for revenge. The professor also mentions that his wife was possessed by the risen demon and that the only way to ensure possessed individuals are stopped is to dismember their corpses. The characters are gradually possessed one by one, beginning with Cheryl, who is played by Ellen Sandweiss. After she is brutally raped by the evil force using the nearby trees in this sequence of intense, bloody violence and horrifying voiceovers. We're gonna pause right there because, yeah, that was like the first main thing where I was like, okay, so like, yeah, okay, not to jump into the next movie, but the next movie was like crazy start to finish. This one wasn't crazy exactly until like this point, but this point was crazy. So this character Cheryl, she is the only one who's like, nah, y'all, we gotta go. This is not right. It is time to go. So she's trying to get out of the cabin where they are, and she's like running through the woods, but the woods are literally turning against her. It is like the earliest adaptation of human form of hentai that I've seen. The 80s were crazy, but this was like far too much. It was very graphic. So like the vines wrap her up basically from limb, from arm, leg, and then one really, really big vine just goes and inserts itself, and then there's like a whole moment where you can tell what the tree is doing. The thing that is super crazy about this movie in particularly is that since it was so early in Hollywood, there wasn't a lot of CGI. The CGI was very noticeable, and I don't think that that's the route they wanted to go with this. So there was a lot of practical effects and special effects and not special effects, practical effects and like puppetry. So these vines were, I'm sure, all like not stop motion in a way, because I know some of the end of the stuff was stop motion, but the vines were definitely like real vines. And I don't want to know how they were able to get the sequence of like the penetration, because that was insane. It literally, they don't, it's like not vivid. You don't see like the genitalia, you don't see like it inserting into the genitalia, but you see like her skirt, and it's like dark in her skirt, but you see like the vine disappearing into her skirt. That is the most effed up part of this movie. There's a lot of like graphic deaths in it, but I think this part is like the cherry on top of the graphic deaths. Like I could do gore, but when it comes to like sexual assault and stuff like that, I find it unnecessary. But back then, not but like back then, they heavily like relied on that, especially horror movies. You cannot go watch a horror movie without either someone having sex or a tit out while someone's dead, for no reason. There's like, no, it doesn't add anything to the story with this lady's tit being out. But back to the synopsis. So Cheryl makes it home to the cabin, but nobody believes her ordeal. Her brother Ash, who is played by Bruce Campbell, who also was just strung into the spotlight after this movie, he then decides to drive her into town where she can stay the night. On their way there, they discover that the only road bridge is completely destroyed and the supports are bent into the shape of a hand. Soon after, Cheryl becomes a demon and stabs Linda in the ankle with a pencil. Linda is played by Betsy Baker. They end up locking her in the cellar, but soon after, Shelley, played by Teresa Tilly, becomes possessed and attacks Scotty, who's played by Richard DeManicore, who dismembers her with an axe. They wrap the dismembered body parts in a blanket and bury them, after which Scotty leaves to find a trail out of the woods. So we're going to pause there again, and we're going to break a little bit of this stuff down. Because the way this synopsis is going, in my opinion, they're kind of like not putting the blame on the girls, but they're like, oh, she's the one that went crazy. She's the one that died. She's the one that's killing everybody. When in actuality, it was Mr. Scotty Boy who, like, they found the cellar. The cellar was already creepy. They heard something down in the cellar, and he was the one that went to go check it out. As soon as he went to go check it out, he was playing a prank on all of them, pretending like either something happened to him or he disappeared. So he made Ash basically go all the way down there and look for him, and then he did a jump scare and popped out at the end. But when they were down there, he's the one that found like the Book of the Dead and then this recorder that had the professor's findings and stuff on it, and he's the one that pressed play on the recorder. And when he pressed play, it was already saying like about how his wife was getting possessed, all the crazy that is with that book and how the book is made of flesh and so the one girl, the one that ran into the woods, Cheryl's like, I don't like this, like turn it off. So she turns it off, and he's like, come on, whatever, it's just like, I want to hear how it turns out. So he still goes against her wishes and then like rewinds the tape and plays the tape. So then once he plays on the tape, that's when it gets to like the incantation part where it's reading out the names of the demons. And that is when, like, by the end of the incantation, Cheryl, she's like screaming at the top of her lungs for them to stop. And then the window busts through because it, at the same time, awakened this deadly force, which then possesses her first. So it is Scotty's fault. Scotty's an asshole. He should have died first, and he should have had his tits out while he was dying. So I think, like, when this is what I meant by practical effects, because this was like kind of the first, that stabbing of the foot was the first, I feel like, gore thing we saw in this movie. And you can totally tell it wasn't a real foot. I think they literally made like a whole fake foot made of flesh and stuff. There was this show called like, it was like a versus show, but they would like do simulations, and they would like find old ancient weapons, and they would like test them on these real flesh bodies and stuff, and see if it would like slice through today, if they would go against each other, if they would win. It was like on that Dude Bro channel that had like the UFC fights and stuff. It was very that kind of like practical effects flesh. Like it was just very, you can tell it wasn't like real flesh. And you can tell as soon as they popped into it, like there was a bag of blood that was supposed to squirt. But even then, it was still very, very gross because they stab right underneath the ankle and then like drag I think it was like a pencil or something, but they drag it straight down like into the Achilles heel, and it was far too much. And so they end up like, all jumping her to get her into the cellar, besides the girl who got stabbed in the foot. So the two boys, what is his name? Scotty? Yeah, Scotty and Ash, they go and they get her into the cellar finally. And once she's into the cellar, that's when they like switch her character out with this very noticeable puppet. But the puppet was creepy, but it's just a puppet like coming out of the little rafters like rah, rah, rah. The puppet should have got an award for this movie. I enjoyed it. You can tell in this new movie, not to get into it too early, but you can tell in this new movie there was a lot of CGI. It was still cool. But back to this synopsis. So Scotty just leaves to find a trail out in the woods, right? Because this part was kind of funny. He was literally like, I mean, this is fair. This is the one part where I kind of like agree with Scotty. So homegirl, I think Cheryl was like his boo thing. So she's already kind of like effed. She's dead, locked in the cellar, right? So then the only other girl is Linda. Linda is out for the count right now because she got stabbed in the foot. So Scotty wants to leave. Scotty's like, there has to be some other way besides that bridge. I'm going to go find it. And Ash is like, no, like we can't go because like Linda's not going to be able to make that walk. And he's like, buddy, that's your girlfriend. That's your problem. I'm getting out of here. And as we know, the audience, the woods ain't gonna let him get out of here, but he doesn't know that. But I don't blame him. He was totally like, dude, that sounds like a you problem. Do you see what's going down right now? Because that's totally fair. If there is somebody literally getting possessed, if I just had to like knock my girlfriend out and to the basement and watch her turn into an evil, scary puppet, I'd be like, yeah, I gotta go, you guys. I'm clocking out. So he immediately comes back and is just mutilated, and the practical effects for this are crazy. So obviously he's like messed up, gashes everywhere, but his one hand is broken so bad where his wrist and his hand connect, that both those bone joints are just straight sticking out of his skin, and he's just kind of like walking in there like, you know how us gay people, we always like walk with our hand out, right? It's like up to our shoulder, but it's just limp. It was very that, but his bones were out. And that was another one of the like grossest like parts, because during that whole entire time he's kind of alive still for a hot minute, and that bone is just sticking out the whole entire time, and it's just it's so gross. You can just see it move and everything is So Ash goes to check on Linda, but finds her to be possessed also. Womp womp womp. Scotty returns, but is mutilated by trees. Before losing consciousness, he tells Ash there is a trail in the woods. After Linda tricks Ash by returning to seemingly normal, Ash drags her outside. He goes back to check on Scotty, who eventually dies, succumbs to all of his wounds. There was tons of them. Linda later returns and tries to stab Ash, but she falls on the dagger. Ash drags her outside to cut her up with a chainsaw, but he simply buries her instead. She rises from the grave, and Ash beheads her with a shovel. The head soon comes back to life and taunts him, and the body arises and chases Ash back to the cabin. He returns to find the cellar door open. Cheryl jumps at the window and tries to break in. Ash shoots her, but she doesn't die. Ash barricades both the front and back doors. He runs back into the cellar and finds a box of shotgun shells and experiences a strange series of events, including the cellar filling with blood and hearing things in his mind. Cheryl tries to attack Ash through the door, but he shoots her and then slides a bookshelf in front of the door. Scotty's dead body suddenly animates, and he and Cheryl comes at Ash again. Suddenly, they begin to scream, and smoke starts to rise from their bodies. Ash noticed that the Book of the Dead has fallen into the fireplace. He puts it directly into the flames, and the demon stops and begins to rot away as dawn breaks. Ash is the only survivor. He heads outside and stands there for a while thinking he has survived the ordeal. But the evil force runs him down. The screen goes black as Ash turns around with a look of terror on his face as the evil finally catches him. Yeah, that whole ending scene is totally hard to describe because, like, they just go off. They're just ripping off each other's skin. What I kind of love about The Evil Dead and what I kind of hate about The Evil Dead, it kind of always has been, let's see how much we can make the audience wince. But there was a part where she was trying to get into the possessed Linda. She was trying to get into the first off, okay, so she was trying to get into the door, and she had her fingers in the door, and they were just like closing the door on them, and you can see the flesh like ripping off of them, and it, like, her hands already looked like she was underwater for some reason, like, you know how it's all super wrinkly like that. It was very that, plus bloody and gray and goopy and bleh. But the actress, she did a really good job because they had some like uncanny valley makeup that she had like 3 in between stages of her character. She had her character who was like, oh my God, please don't let me get possessed again, like her regular self. There was her in between, I would say, Deadite, where she was still kind of like had some of her human form, but her face was very uncanny valley. Like, her eyes were into the back of her head. Her hairstyle was even different. And like, her acting for that was really, really good. Like, she had a really good creepy like clown laugh. It was extraordinary. I very much appreciated it. I'm gonna study it because I want the character that I'm gonna play. I want, when she's doing crazy stuff, I want her to have some of that like crazy laugh, because if there is one thing about these Deadites, I saw this on the internet, but if there is one thing about these motherfuckers, is that they have the time of their life doing the most imaginable things to each other. So I really want to evoke that in this character that I'm playing in the fall. But yeah, she did an excellent job. The another like last part that was kind of very, very gross that they did good effects on, she was scratching at Ash's leg, like straight taking off his flesh and stuff. Anything where you can see the flesh ripping off is top tier. It's gross. Very gross. But this movie, The Evil Dead, for the time it came out and for the fact that it was all practical effects, basically, besides the ending part where he throws the book into the fire. Finally, the book is like opening its mouth up, burning, and as it's burning, all of the Deadites are like stopping in their tracks and they're melting. But that to me didn't even feel like that much like CGI. That literally felt like stop motion, because there was a part where one of the skulls was just like dissipating itself. I don't know the word. But it literally looked like green Play-Doh was coming out of its eye socket, and I was like, that's Play-Doh. I know Play-Doh when I see Play-Doh. But I would still give this movie, like, honestly, I would give it a solid 9 out of 10. If it didn't have that like tree scene, I would have given it a 10 out of 10. But the tree scene was crazy. Yeah. So to get into the next movie, that was The Evil Dead, 1981, directed by Sam Raimi and written by him. So this next one, he hasn't been on like the team basically since the second one. I think he like sold the rights and stuff. But he finally got back on the writing team for The Evil Dead Burn. So he wrote it with Sebastian Vennick and Florence Bernard. And I think this one was this one this one was far too much. So first off, spoilers. I didn't give you guys a spoiler for the other one because it came out over 40 years ago, 45 years ago actually. So whatever. That is on AMC Plus. If you guys have that, go watch it. It's free, or not free, for whatever you pay for. But Evil Dead Burn, I saw like a trailer for this for one of the episodes that I did, and the trailer wasn't even like a full trailer at the time. It was just one of those like minute clips from the movie, and the minute clip that it was the main character. Her name is Alice. She was just getting effed up, or she just woke up from being effed up, and she was trying to like crawl away, and in the background 2 other characters are getting just like effed up by this demon. The demon's floating and stuff, and it is just a minute of chaos. And I was like, oh my god, that might be like the whole chaotic part right there. This movie was 2 hours, and I would say probably an hour and 29 minutes were exactly like that minute trailer. Like, I could not, like, there was no room to breathe. There was literally no room to breathe. I went and I saw it in theaters with Sydney, shout out. And Sydney said that she had to like keep reminding herself. She did not like it. At first it was a lot to take in. But she did not like it at all. She said that she had to keep like reminding herself that it was just a movie. And then the other girl that I was sitting next to, like me and her, we were just like wincing at almost every single part. She had a hoodie on, and she just had her hoodie on, and she was like hiding inside of her hoodie, and I was like, girl, same. I did not have a hoodie, so I had to use my hands. But the beginning of this movie, it starts off at the lake where the last movie before Evil Dead Burn was Evil Dead Rise. I haven't seen that movie yet, but I'm gonna see that movie from all of the stuff that I heard. People say that there was a lot, like they brought a lot of that practical effects back in Evil Dead Rise that they were kind of missing in Evil Dead Burn. Evil Dead Burn seemed to use more computer animated stuff, which I guess if you have the money, do it. To each is its own. It didn't look terrible besides the ending, but we'll get into that. The very first scene inside of Evil Dead Burn takes place at the same lake that the very first scene takes place in Evil Dead Rise. So there's like 2 main girly pops that get possessed in Evil Dead Rise. The blonde one, I don't know her name right now, but the blonde one I think is the one that's left at the end of the movie. So she's the one that begins at Evil Dead Burn. So Joseph, before we get into the family, so yeah, we just see her pop back up at the lake, and at the lake there's 2 dudes who are fishing, and one dude gets a call, and he goes off screen, and while he's off screen, the other dude's fishing line starts to like take in. So the fishing line pulls him in, and then we just see homeboy get like drug into the water. So the other dude that left came back, and he's like, hey, where are you? Blah, blah, blah. So then we see his friends in the middle of the lake now, and his head is like popped up in the middle of the water. And then we see him thrashing, and then we see just blood surrounded by him. So he's like, oh, hell no, what the So dude tries to go, and he ends up getting caught by, this is when blonde girl from the last movie, she comes up out of the lake because he goes in his boat and he tries to go like save him, but he realizes like he can't save his friend. So blonde girl comes up out of the lake, and he's trying to get off on the boat, and that's when she tips him out of the boat, and so now he's in the lake, right? This is how you already know this movie's gonna be crazy. I thought the first kill, I was like, okay, but the second kill, oof. So she's in the lake, or he's in the lake, right? The fisherman, and she's just floating on top of the lake, chilling, killing, vibing, and she literally boils this lake. So dude is just trying to swim to the shore in boiling, scalding water. So by the time he gets to the shore, he's basically cooked. He's literally like, not metaphorically, not how the Gen Zs be saying it. He ain't cooked. I mean, he is cooked like that, but he is literally cooked. And there was a part where the spirit goes and steps on his hand, like his cooked hand, and it's that meaty flesh, and it just like falls straight off of the bone, and it was so good. Ugh. So then after that, that's the opening scene, right? So the dead girl, she is walking into the middle of the street. It's like nighttime now, and then the deadite, right? The blonde girl from the first movie, or not the first movie, the last movie, she walks into the middle of the street, and then there's this car hauling ass, and the car hits her. And then it cuts to the next scene. So the next scene is when we get into the new family, the new gaggle of people. The way I'm going to do this real quick, I'm just going to kind of go and say the family relationship, because this movie in particularly is very family oriented. This movie reminds me of Resident Evil 7, I think, the video game, where the dude goes into the house and the family's like super like up. Basically, they're like just they're like yeah. It's very that. So the main character is Alice. Alice is married to Will. Will is brothers with Joseph. Joseph is married to Thaya. And these are the four people who are at the club right now, right? So Will is the owner of the club. Will and Joseph are brothers, by the way. Will and Joseph are brothers, so that makes Alice and Thaya like sister-in-laws. So Will is the owner of the club, and Alice is the one that like does the bookkeeping and stuff. So Alice is French, by the way. And everyone else is American. That doesn't really matter besides this first thingy. So like, it's Joseph's birthday, and they're all trying to give him gifts, and then Alice gives them a picture, and then they're drunk, and French people, they like go in for the kiss and stuff. So she accidentally almost like kisses him on the lips, and then bro gets mad. So then that causes them to like fight, and then so they go outside to kind of like argue and stuff, and then you can tell like he's very abusive to her. This isn't the first time they're getting into an argument like this, and you can tell one of the last times they got into an argument, she really didn't take kindly to it because this triggered something in her, and she was basically like, "Get the hell away from me! Don't touch me!" Blah 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 blah. And with that very dramatic of a "don't touch me," we get the idea that he probably touched her before. So that is their relationship, right? Joseph and Thaya, off of first impressions, they're cool. I like Thaya the most. I think she was the best actress in this too because she's Australian and she played American. I always love when Australians do that. Anytime I see an interview later, I'm like, oh my God, that's what you sound like. Basically, Will is drunkenly like, you know what? F this. I'm done. I'm getting out of here. So he gets into his car and Joseph's like, no, don't drive. You're drunk. Let me drive you. Alice don't give a Will doesn't give a for either right now. He's like, nah, y'all. He goes back to the kiss thingy and's like, you can have her. Go ahead. Blah, blah, blah. So he drives off all mad. And so when he's driving off, guess who he hits? Yep, you guessed it. He hits that girl. So that's who ended up hitting her. It gave us like a little backstory on why they hit her. Yeah, so then he meets this Deadeye, and as he's like effed up from the car crash, he's like, he thinks that he killed this girl, and this girl's head is like basically almost decapitated in the car, and she starts to come back to life. And then that's when he realizes, oh, this is crazy. And the head, she kind of like, the Deadite like decapitates herself, but before the head decapitates herself, kind of like puts that incantation, says that incantation out loud, and kind of like basically is getting ready to possess Will now, Will's spirit, okay? So Will dies, and now they're all at a funeral, and this is when we meet the mom and the dad. So the mom is Susan, and the dad is Edgar. So Will, you guys can kind of forget about Will for now. Will is no more in the story until the end. Oh, and we also meet the grandma, Polly. She's funny. So we can tell that like the mom doesn't like Alice, kind of, or we can tell between the sister-in-laws interacting that the family isn't really fond of Alice. But they're like, no, give it a shot, whatever. So during this funeral, the funeral is like, there's construction during the funeral. The funeral is not good at all. The first thing I thought at the funeral, the only people who are at this funeral are the people in the cast. I'm sure that was because they didn't want to pay extras or whatever. But like, if that was my funeral, I'd be hella sad if there was just that many people there. Honestly, at this rate, that's probably how it's going to go. But we'll see. We'll see. There's still time. So once the funeral's over, they take the body into the back, and the dad comes in, and the dad tells the mortician, oh, can I say bye to my son one last time? And he's like, oh, can't really let you do that. And the dad's super scary and like KKK looking, so he gets punked into letting him do it anyways. So as soon as the dad goes in there, he hears like a bunch of knocking on the coffin. So he starts to like, he thinks his son's alive, so he starts to like dig into the coffin, trying to rip it open, and then the coffin like tips over, and then the evil possessed Will touches the dad's hand and like puts a burn on him, and I think that's kind of what infects him. It transfers like the energy over, because that dead Will just went and like demolished the mortician. After that, nothing happens to the dad. We see everybody like driving back to the house. So apparently Joseph had gotten this house from Susan's dad. Susan's dad was this very weird, eccentric demonologist, we'll call him. He's not a demonologist, but he was very into the occult, specifically the Book of the Dead. And this is where we see some of the findings and stuff. And Joseph is a struggling writer, so he decided to use his grandpa's stuff to like get inspired about something to write about, right? So once the mom, Susan, when she comes back after the funeral, she's like, I told you to throw all this stuff away. My dad was not somebody, to idolize or blah, 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 blah. And then she plays something off of the recorder, and it's literally him talking about like some wild demon being possessed for like 5 seconds. And she was like, you see what I'm talking about? Get rid of all this stuff, and like starts throwing it into a garbage bag and stuff. So then everybody goes down for dinner. But before dinner, the dad is like struggling with basically getting overtaken by the Deadite. Like he's basically going to turn into one of those very soon. And you can tell. So he is like almost getting ready to, trigger warning, I forgot to put this in the beginning, trigger warning, suicide. But he is getting ready to like slit his wrist basically. And then Alice walks in, and Alice like grabs the knife and stops him last second. And then that's when they all go to the table. And then at the table, once they get to the table, y'all, this is when it hits the fan, and it does not stop. There is zero chill. The only time there was chill was after the car crash and until that table scene, which was like a solid maybe 20 minutes of the film. But so as soon as they get to the table, this is when we see the toxic family tie starting to come out. Everyone's starting to blame each other for Will's death. Everything's getting very tense and aggravated. They have a dog, Max, R.I.P. Max. Max, like, comes up and, like, Max is technically Joseph and Thaya's dog, too, just by the way. It's not the dad's dog. But Max comes and tries to, like, comforts the dad because the dad's crashing out. And then the dad, like, picks up the corkscrew, and then Thaya kind of sees it. And she's like, hey, can I use that to open up the bottle real quick? And then takes the corkscrew from him. And then right after that, he basically, I think it's the fork. He grabs the fork and literally grabs the dog and stabs the dog multiple times in the head. And this is the part where I literally covered my eyes for that. I knew it was coming, and I was like, nope, cannot see this. This was like a star ding for me too. But the dog comes back. This I guess is the takeaway from it. I know the dog gets, brutally stabbed, but he comes back. He's not technically dead until the end, I guess. But yeah, that was I'm getting stressed out right now reimagining this dinner scene, you guys. This literally, I had to go smoke a cigarette after this movie. It was crazy. Once he stabs the dog, everyone's not even on 10. They're on 20 at this point. Joseph and Thaya are like, oh my God, what the and he ends up like hurting himself somehow. And so they're trying to take him to the hospital, and so it's Thaya, Joseph, and the dad in the car on the way to the hospital. And Joseph and Thaya are freaking out. They're like, oh my God, like he just killed our dog. Like, what the hell? And then like as they're in the car, this is when the dad finally turns into a deadite, like gets fully possessed. Y'all, there's zero chill. I'm trying to remember just like the craziest caps. So he starts attacking them in the car. There is a gun in the car. Thaya is the one driving. The dad is attacking Thaya, and they end up crashing to get the car to stop, right? So Joseph and Thaya are literally like tag teaming the dad. The dad's trying to kill Thaya. Joseph finally gets the gun. Thaya like is almost half out the door, and Joseph can't like bring himself to pull the trigger against his dad. So then like as Thaya's about to get out of the door, she has like one hand outside of the door of the car and like one hand in the car door. The dad reaches over and closes the car door, and like it cuts off every single finger of her hand inside of the car door. And I saw this movie twice in theaters, and both times, I don't know why it was this, out of everything that happened in this movie, this was the only time where, I think probably because the rest of it was loud, but this was the only time, both times, where the audience collectively went, ooh, because like seeing all 4 of her fingers get chopped right off and just falling off of the car door during that intense ass part was like crazy. It was so crazy. I'm stressed. So then that happens, and he's basically like, the dad's basically almost about to kill her, and Joseph still can't pull the trigger, and Thaya's like pleading with him like, oh my God, please pull the trigger. And so he's frozen. The dad takes off, those car head seats that are on the top of the cars where our head rests. he takes that whole thing off that has those metal poles and stuff. Yeah. He takes the whole thing off and then stabs Thaya and kills her in the head with it. R.I.P. Thaya. Before that, like, she ended up hitting him with like a fire extinguisher. There was smoke all in the car during the smoke stuff. Instead, before Thaya got stabbed, instead of helping his girlfriend, he climbed out the sunroof. Homie climbed out the sunroof. He saw his opportunity and he took it. He climbed out the sunroof and left her in the car with her dad and watched that last part through the window. He watched her dad stab her with the dang car head seat and was like, oh, well, gotta go, and then ran away. Like, oh my God. You can't trust men with nothing. His little IMDb picture is like staring me in the soul right now too. Yeah, I'm talking about you, sir. So, Joseph finally gets back to the house. Susan and Alice, Susan's the mom, they just finally buried the dog. And then Joseph comes inside. Before Joseph comes inside, Alice is outside and is going through the trash, like, by chance. Because it got knocked over, and that's when she comes across the Book of the Dead, and she reads in there. She reads about these people called the Circle of the Wise Men, and about how this artifact that can destroy these dead people. She sees like a picture of it. She sees that it's some like knife, right? And after that, she sees like the incantation to say, basically that was said in that first movie that like triggered everything, right? And she starts saying it out loud. And at the very last spirit's name, she's like, nah, this, and closed it. I'm going to have to put a lot of bleeps during this. Whatever. So she closed it and was like, nope, I'm not doing this. And then that's when she goes inside the house. So she gets basically the information that we need to know how to destroy the demon at the end of the movie, right? That's what that part was. Make sure not to leave that out. So as soon as she gets into the house, this is when Joseph comes inside and is all traumatized, and they're like, what happened? And he's like, Dad just killed Thea. And then we hear a knock on the door, right? And then so they kind of like look at the door like, uh-oh, who's that? And then we hear Thea's voice. And she's like, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Like, no, I'm fine. Let me in. It's cool, guys. It's cool. Don't worry about it. And so Joseph is like, you know, his acting was honestly very, very good. He did his name is Hunter Doohan. He did a great job. But he's literally like crying, scared, unlocking the door, frozen all at the same time. And then Thaya comes in, effed up. She's totally one of the Deadites. She is like doing creepy stuff with her body. She rips off the car seat from her mouth. She's basically bullying Joseph the whole entire time, calling him like how much of a pansy baby boy he is for leaving her behind to get killed by his dad, and how he can never man up to do this or man up to do that. And then before Thaya tries to take on Alice, Susan, and Joseph, she does this really gross candle drinking scene, which is inside of the trailer. But she takes a lit candle, which has been like lit since the dinner, and then like toasts them and drinks the candle wax just straight up hot lit. And it was insane. I remember, so I work at the movie theater, and so I watched this movie like the early access day before. I watched it in Dolby. That was insane. And the next day I was working as a greeter, and there was literally two old ladies. Like, one was probably like 54 and the other one looked like her mom, so she was probably pushing 70 something. And so when they both gave me their ticket, I saw it on there, it said Evil Dead Bird, and I looked at them and I was like, oh, you guys are watching this movie? They're like, yeah, I seen that candle scene crazy. I was like, yeah, I watched it last night, like I needed to go smoke a cigarette afterwards. And then the older lady was like, oh god, you didn't tell me that. And I was like, man, this lady's literally about to give her mom a heart attack. Why would she take her mom to go see this movie? RIP them. I wonder if they made it out, that movie. But yeah, she told me that she saw that candle wax scene and she was like, oh, I had to go see it. I was like, rock on. That's going to be me when I'm older. So Thaya comes in, kills everybody. Not kills everybody, tries to kill everybody. She gets sent to the cellar as Thaya's, as they're trying to fight Thaya. This is when Susan's animosity towards Alice is really starting to come up to the surface, and basically she's like, you're dumb and this is all your fault. And so, long story short, to skip a couple of stuff, Joseph gets murked by his girlfriend, I believe. The mom ends up turning into one of the deadites too. Oh, okay. So there's still the grandma there, right? The grandma's like kind of like paralyzed and doesn't really walk and super old and has dementia and is like losing parts of her body and stuff, right? So the grandma earlier in the movie thought that Thaya was like stealing her purse, like before she turned into a deadite. Later, when Thaya came back, the old lady's upstairs. She's like, "I told you she came back for my money." So then, when she hears all the commotion downstairs, like right as Thaya's about to kill Joseph, the old lady, she's like, "I have what you want," because Thaya says out loud that they're looking for this artifact that Alice read about in that book that is at that house somewhere, right? So then Thaya goes upstairs because she's like, oh, the old lady knows about the artifact. But then the old lady is just talking about the money that she thinks that she stole. So she's like, the mattress, the cash is under the mattress. And then the Deadite version is all like, oh, look at you, you're so broken. And then it's so gross. She takes out the old lady's like dentures and she like macks with them. Like she licks them all in herself and kind of like puts them in her mouth and then puts it back in the old lady's mouth and is like, oh, this is going to fix you. So then the old lady ends up getting possessed later. That's how she gets possessed. Susan also gets possessed because the husband comes back. When the husband comes back, this is a very like wild scene. So it looks like they finally killed Thea, right? So Joseph, Susan, Alice try to take the grandma and escape, right? So as soon as they get outside the house, this is when they see the dad and the dog, as deadites, basically blocking their path from leaving. So they're like, well, we can't leave. So the crazy part is the dad, to show them just how much that they can't kill him no matter what they do, basically. He has the gun from the car. He takes it and he shoots himself 3 different times in the head and is still alive and tries to send the dog after him right afterwards. And that's when they go back inside and they close the door and they're like, well, we can't leave. So then later on, Susan comes into like contact with her husband. What's his name again? Edgar. She comes into contact with Edgar somewhere upstairs after the grandma comes back as a deadite and tries to kill everybody. I'm telling y'all, they're literally in this movie, they're like, how much can we kill people? Let's see how many times we can kill the same person. It was pretty cool. So then when Susan meets with Edgar upstairs, Edgar comes in and he like gives her a tongue down. They make out all bloody and stuff. And she's like, oh my God, you haven't kissed me like that in forever. So then making out turns her into a deadite. So now Alice is up against all of these people, this whole toxic family who didn't really like her to begin with. I mean, her own husband didn't like her, was a to her. So it is up to her to find that artifact that is the only thing that is known to kill, that is able to kill this demon. It is up to her to find it upstairs in the attic and take down this demon. So eventually she gets upstairs through all of this fighting and peril. She gets upstairs and there's a whole bag full of a bunch of knives, but yes, of course, only one of them is actually the knives. Like, who does that? Why have a bag full of knives and only one of them is the one that's the thing? Whatever. So like Joseph's character is like coming up trying to kill Alice, and she ends up like going through a bunch of different knives trying to stab him, and she finally comes across the knife that is the artifact that is supposedly supposed to kill the spirit. So she's able to kill everybody, including the dog, and just when you think she's good and gets out of the house, this is when I personally think they should have just ended the movie. But I guess there was still some unfinished business between her and her husband. So I thought the movie was over then. There's still another like 15 minutes of her trying to leave the house, and she ends up at some like, not a graveyard. Junkyard, that's the word. She ends up at some sort of junkyard, and it is her husband's spirit now that is chasing her. That same one that was at the mortuary in the beginning that effed up the mortician. So now it is against her and her husband's spirit. Now this whole entire part was CGI, which is why I like, oh, they totally should have just like, they could have saved themselves a couple $1 million and like 2-star ratings if they just cut that last part, in my opinion. Never did it. But the whole thing was just like a bunch of fire flames of CGI, and she was like trying to get out of this pit that was filling with tar, and of course she eventually got out, and so she ends up like coming one-to-one with her husband. The deadite thinks that they're gonna pull one over on her by like turning into the original form, because this is what they did in the first movie, right? Ash's girlfriend, the deadite turned back to normal, trying to be like, oh my God, help me, please, don't let me get possessed, to try to like put up a ruse against Ash. And that's when they did the same thing at the end here with Alice's husband, Will. So right at the end, basically right before Alice is about to kill him, finally, he turns into his regular self and is like, oh, but I still love you. And then Alice is like, nope, that is not enough, because she realizes that that man never loved her. He was an abusive piece of and needs to die anyways, regardless if it was just him or that evil demon. So Alice kills him. And so we think that that's it. But we all know that there is an Evil Dead Wrath coming out, so we know that these Deadites aren't dead yet. Apparently, if you stayed after the credits, there was an end of credits scene. So the only person that never got stabbed with that knife was the grandma. So she ends up on the road, and she like cut her legs off earlier in the scene trying to get out of this belt thing. So she's just like crawling on the road with no legs, and somebody else pulls over like, hey girl, you okay? And she's like, they're like, oh my God, what happened to your legs? And she's like, oh, it doesn't matter. Yours will do. And then it insinuates that, the demon still lives on, not only in the grandma, but in a new body that has legs. Because the demon was a little like handicapped for a second because she cut her own legs off, so she was just only able to crawl, and they only can like go in one host at a time. But now she found a new host, and that is gonna probably be the precipice for the next movie. With that being said, I think this movie, I originally gave it like 5 out of 10 stars. I'm gonna bump it to like 6.5 out of 10. It would have been 7.5 if they never killed the dog, and it would have been a solid 10 in my opinion, because all of the kills were freaking epic if it wasn't for the ending. I guess we needed like the closure with the domestic violence like storyline, but that whole ending scene with the fire and all that, it was just far too much. Far too much CGI. It didn't even look like good CGI. That's when it wasn't scary anymore. I didn't feel like I didn't get that same sense of relief after that as I did after her killing the whole entire family, I think they maybe could have saved Will's spirit for a different movie, but I think it was funny to have the grandma as the one to continue the movie. With that being said, I think this is a great movie. This is definitely one of those movies where you should watch it in theaters, because I was watching The Evil Dead on my TV at home, and it was kind of like, it was getting a little spooky, and then I finished it on my phone, and I was like, oh, it's totally not scary because everything's so small. But when we watched it in Dolby, like it was like screen to screen, wall to wall, super loud surround sound. This movie was so intense. And yeah, that movie was awesome. Yeah, that was Evil Dead Burn. So, we have gotten to the part where we get to play one of my favorite games, Slash or Smash. The rules are very simple. We're going to be looking at the posters of all 6 Evil Dead movies, and we're going to slash or smash them based on the movie poster, okay? Oh my god, I hear spirits. Oh my god. Woo! We had a guest slash audience member with us today. Everybody, welcome to the studio for the first time ever, John K. Pons. So like the real reason we're about to go kayaking after this, but like the real reason why I didn't have you for the whole episode was because we were watching it yesterday and you didn't get to see the whole entire the first movie, The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
And you definitely didn't see the new one.
No.
But the parts that you did see of the first one, what was the craziest thing you think?
For sure the scene with the tree. That was just crazy,
Yes, the tree hentai. So we are going to play Slash or Smash. So we have the pictures of these movies, and it is going to start with the very first one from 1981, The Evil Dead. This is from Sam Raimi. So the movie poster it looks like it's the first girl. No, it looks like it was the last girl. What was it, Cheryl? Yeah, I think Cheryl. It looks like it was Cheryl getting drug up from the body, like her hands coming out of the she's coming out of her grave, and there's like a evil spooky hand trying to pull her down.
Yeah.
I think this is a smash.
Yeah, smash. Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think that this is a good movie poster. If I was there in the 80s, it would have my ticket. Right. So the next one is going to be Sam Raimi's sequel from 1987, Evil Dead 2: The Electric Boogaloo. And what do you think? What are you gonna give it?
I'm gonna have to say smash. Honestly,
Yeah.
the skull, it just looks so cool, just so scary.
Honestly, yeah.
The
So
eyes still.
it's very Shakespearean, very Hamlet. So it's just a skull with like human eyes. And I think in this one, I remember some pictures of it, of this one and then Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
This is when the Deadites actually turn into like skeleton monsters. And I think the skeleton monsters is what Scary Movie was making fun of. Do you remember when Cindy and Brenda were running away from the skeleton at the end of the movie?
Yeah, that's Bones.
Yeah, it's Bones. Yeah, I think they're making fun of this. I am going to give this movie or this poster a slash. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a slash just because this is when you can tell they started to get their hands on CGI, and they said, let's make it spooky. And it was not spooky. All right, the next one is from 1992. This one is The Army of Darkness. Okay, honestly, this one I think I'm gonna give a smash.
Yeah, no, same. Smash. I love I don't know, it's kind of giving very
Like comic book
very
vibes.
80s, yeah, almost like Star Wars like, where she's laying down.
Right, so it looks like Ash still. Ash has a chainsaw and he looks ripped. His sexy. That's where I'm gonna smash. But he has his shirt ripped open. He has like those garters, those leather garters for like guns and stuff, like crossed across his chest. And then there's like a bunch of evil people trying to get him. It looks cool. Like a evil Rambo. I'm sure this one wasn't good, but I am still down to watch it. After watching these, I have to go into the deep hole and finish watching everything, starting with Evil Dead Rise. That's the one I want to watch next. So next, it is Evil Dead from 2013. This one, a lot of people think that this was a remake, but indeed it was just a continuation of the story. Because I tried to go through the timeline and stuff, when I was researching. But this was just another continuation, just with another demon. But it's like the same Book of the Dead, same universe. So this one is just called Evil Dead. No the. They got rid of the. And this one, what do you think?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to do a slash, low key.
Yeah.
For this one, I don't know. It's just kind of a little simple.
Yeah, it looks like Canva just came out, and they did this on Canva. So it's just like the back of a girl. The back of one of the Deadites, and she's kind of just walking, and it's just literally that in all red, and the title Evil Dead in like a gold yellow. Yeah, this one's gonna be a slash. Obviously I was born during this time, but I didn't watch it probably because of this movie poster. They say never judge a book by the cover, but they never said never judge a movie by the movie poster, So the next one is, I don't know if I said it or not, but this one is going to get a slash from me too. The next one is the 2023 version, Evil Dead Rise. Now this one is a fan favorite out of the whole franchise. And with the movie poster is one of the Deadites holding her family. It looks like she's the mom. It says "Mommy loves you to death." So it's the mom who gets possessed, and I think she's trying to kill her family the whole entire time. Love that. I think more moms should do that. Just kidding. What are you giving this?
Smash for sure. It looks pretty spooky ooky. It's
honestly
cool. The mom, it's kind of giving that movie Smile.
Oh yeah, because she is smiling.
Yeah.
Creepy like that, yeah. I am going to give this movie a smash, the movie poster for sure. All right, and then we got to the final one, the newest one. It is Evil Dead Burn. You can tell that they got their hands on some CGI, but I am going to give it a smash.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a A Smash too. Looks pretty cool, pretty scary, right? I like the burning hands
So yeah, there's a
grabbing her
burning
neck.
hand.
Yeah.
It looks like this is Alice.
Yeah.
Alice is getting drugged by the burning hand, and that burning hand is Will. That's what we find out. It's Will's hand, her husband. That's the same burnt hand that turned the dad into a deadite. But yeah, it says every family has its demons. I love how it has little thingies like that. What are the
Right.
subheadlines? But there's also the 4 family members: the dad, the
Yep.
mom, the brother, and then the sister-in-law in the back, all burning. It's very good. I have this poster, life size, like the movie actually size poster. It's in my backseat. This is like a perk of working at the theater. As long as I'm there, we get leftover merchandise from the movies that don't sell. So the last thing that we were just able to get, I got it was the grimoire from Wicked.
Yeah.
That it's like a popcorn tin. So I got that for free, and when that came out, that was at least $55.
Right.
And I got 2 of them. I had to take an extra one just in case. But yeah, that's we get movie posters and leftover merchandise stuff. So that's a huge plus at working at and plus the free tickets. Those are always nice. All right. So that was Slash or Smash. We have almost dug a hole big enough to fit this topic into, but before we go, this is part of the show where we answer chilling inquiries from our crypt keepers. So today's question is from the scariest place of all, the Instagram DMs. So I always put a thingy, and sometimes people respond anonymously. So the anonymous question is, what is your favorite horror movie you saw so far in 2026? Let me think about that for a hot second. I saw basically almost all of them. I feel like I have to look at my AMC backlog. You know what? I need to download Letterbox. Everybody has a Letterbox, and I don't have a Letterbox, which is surprising, right?
Right.
What about you? Do you know a good horror movie you saw this last year? Backrooms. Oh, yep. Okay. So I'm gonna give.
Obsession?
Yeah. I think I am going to give it to Obsession. Obsession, literally, I think it finally just broke all box. I think it is now the number one highest, not number one. It is, if it's not number one already, it's for sure already in the top 10 highest gross films, or highest grossing horror movie films in history. And it is the number one film to have the biggest turnaround. It only had a $750K budget, and it's already made over $450 million back, which is insane. And what's crazy and sad is this movie made so much money, and most of this money is going to go to the investors, which I guess whatever, they get the gamble of it. But yeah, whoever invested in this movie at the beginning, they're effing rich now. I heard that some of them are giving the money away to they're giving some extra money to Curie Baker, and he gets a cute little check, but everybody else, Indy Navarrete, she got paid $30K. Yeah, I mean that's still a lot, but not compared to $450 million. Alrighty, for the sake of time, we will save the other crypt questions for the next episode. I'd like to thank you all for hanging out with me today, and I'd like to thank our spooky little guest spot, John, for coming in today.
Yeah.
Do you know your favorite episode of mine?
I mean, I think it's obvious, the Scooby-Doo one.
Yeah, that one's
come
my
on.
favorite one too.
Yeah.
I almost did a Scooby-Doo episode one today.
Yeah.
Next time,
time.
that's the one
Next time.
we should do.
Yes.
Blowout Bingo Bash for the summer. It's a
Lego
Lego one.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
so good.
That one's coming on the dossier. We'll see you guys soon with that one. But for real, go follow my Instagram at She's in the Crypt, so you can see all the silly little things I've been up to this summer. I'd like to thank UIC Radio for publishing this podcast, but most importantly, I'd like to thank you guys, the Crypt Keepers. Thank you for digging this grave with me today, but unfortunately, the graveyard is closed. So until next time, we'll leave this episode in the crypt. Farewell and bad dreams. Make Make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at She's in the Crypt for updates about shows and upcoming guests. Follow UIC Radio at UIC Radio on Insta and subscribe to the UIC Radio YouTube channel so you won't miss a single episode every Friday. And you can also check out the other shows on the network. Make sure to leave the podcast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps the algorithm push the show. This podcast was created, written, and edited by Niomi Dylan Sass. Hey, and published by UIC Radio. Music by Arthur Benson, The Friendly Ghost, and sound effects from epidemicsounds.com. If you can't get enough of She's in the Crypt, you can check out my weekly blog, Crypt Collections, every Saturday morning on the website uicradio.net and find me in the blog section. Bye.